I saw in the paper that they were looking for poems, and I knew I had one like over there, so I went and got it. This is called Buzzards Bay Canoes. We started out in Mattapoisett, slipped past the Sippacan, and wended our way to where the Wilgantic flows. Ended up in Onset. Spent the night in an Agawam wigwam with a bigwig, Manamet. And Onset, the next morning, we crossed over to Pocasset, cousin of Cohasset. Then down past Katomet to the heights at Megansett. Stopped and had a midday Gansett, then got on the Coonamessett. Floated down to Acapesket. Wandered over to Succonesset where we got our tea ticket punched. I don't know how that happened, but we were quizzed in Quisset and then had something good to sip in Sippawisset. And it didn't matter anyway because by the time we got to Nobska, we had to wait. Someone, we didn't know who, had borrowed our boats and left a note that they would return them in 3 days. Takes more than 3 days to build a boat. Sure enough, on the third morning, the boats were there and whoever had taken them were gone. We went down the islands one by one, Nonamesset to Monahamset, Monahamset to Vicatemist, Vicatemist to near Nashon. Up around the Yucatana, we whizzed by Weepecket and headed straight for Nashawena as far away as we could see. We had heard about the Hoonahims and the Yahoos, so we kept double distance off the shore. Even then, a Yahoo followed us the whole long of Nashon, disappearing and reappearing in different spots, always shouting out to us and ignoring our ignoring of him. It seemed he was working on a kind of comedy routine, because what we could hear, when we could hear him, sounded like bad jokes, or okay jokes told with bad timing. We just kept on going. The sky was blue, and the sea was blue, and the air was sweet sea salt. And when the sun dropped in a perfect ball of yellow, then orange flame, we had just rounded the Copperkit and were inside the harbor at Cuttyhunk. And Cuttyhunk is at the end of the world. It's where Buzzards Bay meets Martha's Vineyard Sound, along the lip of Rhode Island Sound. A sound is a down, it's a drop in the ocean floor. The water is bigger there, there's more of it, and it piles on top of itself, creating rips and edges. And it's those rips and edges that bring fish, lots of fish. The sea is full of fish and the sky is full of birds fishing the fish. We would catch cod with our hands by rowing into a herd of them and sliding over the side to tackle them from above. It didn't always work, but often enough. And there were no foghorns then, but you should have heard the whales at night swimming by, family after family, heading somewhere and talking to each other in the dark. And when we were ready to go home, we used the Pennakees as a periscope to sight the hills of Winsagansett, blocking our view of Nascatucket. That gave us our line. Even in a fog, we could hold it in our heads, or so we thought. Not if the tides say no. Eventually, we recognized the rocks at Nonquit and spent the night in the Ponagansett. The next day, we scratched and walked across the entire length of Wamsetter, opposite the Sconnecut, until we found a Wamsetter club and sat in a Wamsetter sweater. It was getting cold again. I don't know what's going on there. It was getting cold again, and it had begun to rain. In the morning, we'd go all the way up the Acushnet to the end, walk a few hours, and we'd be home. It was always the best trip of the summer. And that trip was the same summer of the same year that Shakespeare wrote and played his play named Hamlet for his living in the city of London.